Angela gets to talk to the boys all day, and we have to play volleyball.
Jason is my son, and today is his birthday. You can have dinner with us. My brother makes good head cheese. Candyman, I get cheese. Candyman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hello and welcome to Two Guys, One Necronomicon, a weekly horror review podcast where we talk about all things horror. We talk about your cult classics to your modern day trash. This is going to be week 2 of our summer camp month, where we'll be talking about the movie Sleepaway Camp.
That's right, Shane boy, and new episodes arrive every Monday at 6 a.m. We are your hosts, Brian Hotboy LaGrassa, and Shane, get your hands off my dungarees, Smith.
You know what? I can't complain about that one. Brian, why don't you also introduce our guest that we're having on this episode?
Yeah, so we have a very special guest for this episode of our summer camp series. You may know him as a YouTuber, but we know him as our very near and dear friend. He's a reformed cult leader and an American pioneer. Sauce McGavin. Sauce, welcome to Two Guys, One Necronomicon.
It is an absolute pleasure and a dream come true.
Now, Sauce McGavin is a rock star Pokemon YouTuber. And Sauce, we know that you have a few things in the works. You mind sharing?
Well, we drop videos every Friday at 5 p.m. and soon we're moving to 2 videos a week. I dropped a video today, Monday, to coincide with this podcast. And if you are here from that video, from my channel, and you are looking to see what the next step is for the next 25 code cards, just go to Sauce McGavin on Instagram, slide into the DMs, and I will tell you the next step. And thank you for stopping by McGavin Club. It means a lot to me and to Two Guys, One Necronomicon. Also, we are getting McGavin Studios underway, and maybe, just maybe, someday you guys could record a podcast episode in McGavin Studios.
An invitation to McGavin Studios, Shane. I feel like we're moving up in the world.
Yeah, I mean, anything would kind of be an upgrade from just constantly filming in your bedroom.
You're saying you're uncomfortable with my lack of air conditioning?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's hot.
It's only going to get hotter as we sit here.
Especially because we're talking about a movie in the heat of the summer.
Yes. The New York summer. I want to stress that.
Where is Camp Arawak, first of all?
The heart of the strong accented New York people, wherever that would be, because every person sounds like they're from either the Bronx or Brooklyn.
Seriously. Yeah, and I'll say this is a fun movie. At least I thought so. More than anything else.
No, it's definitely a fun movie. I don't know if it's a good movie, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this one for a while now, and we did Madman the previous week, and that was interesting. That was not really good. And a lot of these movies, you expect really poor quality. At least I did. Like, when I think of Sleepaway Camp, I think of Sorority House Massacre, I think of Slumber Party Massacre, like movies that we watched leading up to this movie thinking this was going to fall into the same mold.
This was definitely a step up from those movies, for sure.
Definitely a step up. In my opinion, at least. Now, the characters are very quirky. The music's very odd. The movie doesn't really kind of grip you, but it's funny, and it definitely has a sick twist at the end.
Yeah, that's easily the best part of the movie, is the twist at the end. Also, just the acting is so funny in this movie. This is one of the only summer camp movies that actually has kids in the summer camp. Like, the focus is the kids.
Well, the thing about summer camp movies is we mentioned, like, Madman takes place after summer camp is over. Friday the 13th, which we constantly allude to, takes place before summer camp happens. Mm-hmm. So this is like a movie that takes place during summer camp. And where I felt very disturbed is that they're kids, and I realized how raunchy our podcast is. And there's kids involved, so where can we really sneak a passion bump in?
That's going to be an interesting thing, because with the character of Judy, it could be anywhere.
I know.
She's a kid.
Yeah, it's weird. This movie is filled with kids and pedophiles. Literally, like...
Pedophiles, and I'm pretty sure reformed mobsters with Mel.
To be completely honest with you, I was going to say this like later on during the podcast. I'm actually 100% positive they didn't hire an actor for the pedophile role. they hired an actual pedophile because that wasn't acting. It was too good to actually be acting.
Artie, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to say. So, Bride, get us into the summary of this and let's hop into this.
Okay, so Ricky and his shy cousin Angela are brought to summer camp where cruel deeds do not go unpunished. And this movie was released in 1983 and stars Felissa Rose as Angela, Jonathan Tiersten as Ricky, and several others who, for the most part, I don't think had major careers after this movie.
I'm pretty sure they just went through the streets of New York and like, does anyone want to be in this movie?
There is a name here named Paul D'Angelo, and I just constantly think of Paulie D because the character was bronzed up, oiled, with the shortest shorts known to humankind.
There was a requirement, I believe, in this film that your shorts can only be about an inch or two long.
It truly captures the 80s, and I know before coming on, Sauce even mentioned that the shorts were actually too short for the 80s. It was like a parody on a parody.
Yeah, 6-inch shorts were the standard in the 80s. These were 2-inch shorts on males.
They're shorter than the women's
Oh,
shorts.
by far. It's not even close.
Yeah.
You got any trivia before I go into how this movie opens up?
I unfortunately do not have any trivia for this movie.
Okay. So this movie opens up with about 7 minutes of an establishing shot of the camp.
Before you continue, I want to let you know that this is where it hooked me. Because it is just panning around the summer camp with inaudible dialogue, and then if you listen closely, you hear one guy say, "Get away from me with that pail of water or I'll kill you." And I was hooked.
That'll hook you, for sure.
It got me there. I said, I'm not falling asleep for this one. I'm going to watch it throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, Sauce falls asleep during movies.
That's actually how I rate my movies, because if I fall asleep, you're automatically at a 6.
Gotcha.
If it lacks Wahlberg or Will Ferrell, you're not doing so hot. So that's how I judge my movies. So I'm kind of cruel on that.
I think that's a fair barometer.
I think the biggest crime is that he didn't fall asleep during Biker Boys.
Great movie.
Well, Shane, it's an American classic.
It's terrible.
That movie was Wahlberg and Ferrell being away from a 10. If it had them two,
Imagine.
So you're saying Fishburne and Kid Rock carried that movie?
absolutely. Kid Rock was an animal in that movie.
Dude, dog. His name is Dog.
So he literally was an animal. Okay.
The camera pans over the entire summer camp where you see tennis courts, cabins, basketball courts, soccer fields, and then a dilapidated sign that reads, Camp Arawak for sale.
Is that like a precursor of what's to come?
I think so.
Right? That's what I assume from how this movie actually goes. So then we cut to a dad and his 2 kids on a boat in the middle of a lake.
Yeah, and they're very young kids, and they want to learn how to windsurf because a lot of the campers are windsurfing, right? There's this guy driving a boat with another girl who wants to drive the boat, and there's a windsurfer in the back.
Yeah.
I think they're called windsurfers. Is that what you call them?
Yeah, it's like a skier or windsurfer. It's something like that. I honestly don't know the term.
Gotcha.
So it's a dad, a brother, and a sister. As they're like playing around, their boat capsizes, and they just they just joke about it.
I think they intentionally try to capsize it and play around with their father.
I think they're the first people to intentionally capsize a boat. That's normally...
Yeah, I mean, it's like a little rowboat, and they have life jackets, so it's not like a risk.
They thought it wasn't a risk.
Ooh, Shane. At this point, there's a little struggle between the campers because the girl wants to drive the motorboat, and the guy who's, I guess this alpha male is not happening, but eventually he does let her drive the motorboat.
Biggest mistake he ever made.
Yeah, so she starts driving the motorboat, and she starts driving it into the family who just capsized their little boat. And the guy tries to take wheel, knowing that the girl can't drive. No stereotypes being driven here. And actually, to further emphasize that, he steps on the gas.
It's very strange, because the girl that's windsurfing, or whatever we're going to call it, she's like, there's people. She's shouting.
She's screaming, but they can't hear it because...
and the girl driving, she turns around.
Yeah.
She doesn't look forward. And then, like you said, when the guy finally realizes... Oh my God, we're driving straight at a family. That's also
Leadfoot Jones.
Yeah, they're also only 10 feet away from the shore. So this speedboat, even if that family wasn't there, drive right off onto the shore.
So this boat basically hits the capsized boat, hits the father who's lying on top of the boat, and just takes flight. This thing has wings.
And then it pans to one of the kids face down, just floating, and then another kid trying to keep above water.
And all the while, this is being watched by another man who seems to be very close with this family.
That part, it actually bothered me a little bit. This is the first time I was bothered in the movie, right? Because that man watched a man get run over by a boat, right? And all he says, with a shocked look on his face, is, John. I was at the park the other day, and I watched a little girl fall off her bike, and the amount of screaming that was going on by adults of worry, people that didn't even know her, and all this guy gets is a John.
Yeah, you would think like he would like run into the water and maybe try to save them or see if anyone's okay, but
his his carefree demeanor in this is made up for by the girl who was just screaming on top of her lungs for someone to help them.
Yeah, she's literally screaming at the top of her
2
lungs,
minutes.
just sitting there. Yeah, just sitting there, flapping around in the water.
well, at least she didn't get hurt from the boat she was holding onto going completely off of the other boat. I guess she took the ramp.
I don't think you ever find out what happened to the kids that were in the boat.
I assume they died.
That's fair. And then you just see like one of the little kids just kind of like flapping around, and then the lifeless body of the father,
The other one,
kind of swimming around, and then just a beaten up life jacket of what is to be the other kid.
From that, we go to a completely different scene, which is this very eccentric woman.
Yeah, 8 years later,
Yeah.
the film flashes forward to a very interesting, I guess you could say, overprotective ditzy mother, and it's like super amplified, I guess, for the time.
Well, it's just the way she talks. She's like, well, children.
And she's the most sarcastic and patronizing person to herself. She's like, they're gonna be late. And then she like puts her finger under her chin, and she's like, that wouldn't be good. And she does that like 12 times during this entire scene.
And I love it. She sets the tone. She makes it abundantly clear who the protagonists are. She's like, hi, my son, Ricky. Your cousin, Angela.
From this, you realize that Angela was the surviving child of that boating accident, and now she has been adopted by the aunt, and she's living with her cousin Ricky. And
It's time for summer camp, dude.
but first, the aunt, doesn't she see something on her finger?
Yeah, like a little red string.
Yeah, it's her remembering string, I guess you want to
It's a
call it.
remember string.
And what is it she even wanted to remember?
She's like, oh, I remembered to give you your physical results because you need that for summer camp.
Right. Very subtle.
Can't go without your physical. Hey, you worked at a summer camp.
I did. And that scene is just not needed. Like the physical, like I could have done without watching it because it's so unnecessary to be in there.
Now,
If they played on the physical later on, maybe, but it was never mentioned again. They really went into detail on what you need to go to a summer camp for some reason.
and you can confirm that there's no such thing as volunteers. You are paid at summer camp.
You like there can be volunteers like internships, but for the most part, yeah, you
The
get paid.
counselors are paid. Also, what is the head of the summer camp called? Because I refer to him as the CEO, and Brian said that was incorrect.
Like in our town, yeah, there is a CEO of like a grader. It's like a trickle down effect. It's like the summer camp is the lowest of the low, and yes, there is a CEO that would never show face at the summer camp unless there was like a news camera there for like a kid doing good and he'll like take a picture with them. And then he'll just go in his Tesla and drive away.
So who was Mel? Like, what would Mel be considered?
I think I guess he owned the camp.
Right.
He had to.
Because in my notes, I wrote him down as Mel, the CEO again.
He's easily one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite in this entire movie. He's legit so funny, and we'll get into it.
Well, you got great characters. You got Ronnie, Chino, Mel, Artie.
Yeah, Gino, who just kind of like strolls in, and I'm like, what the hell is AC Slater doing in this movie?
I thought the same exact thing. And actually, I forgot to mention that I'm looking for Shyamalan twists in movies when I watch them, and there are 2 in this movie. And we have reached our first one, and that is Ronnie. Because he's your typical, like you see him and you're like, okay, this is the 80s douchebag that is going to be in every single movie. Shyamalan twist, he's the sweetest person ever made.
It's so true.
He sticks up for Angela in every scene that she gets bullied
He's
in this movie.
basically a walking statue. This guy is bronze.
Sculpted from stone. He wears 2-inch shorts. You can see his package. Jacked out of his mind. Sweetest guy on the planet.
Yeah, there is a scene where he like has his foot up like he's Captain Morgan, and you just see all of him.
Yeah.
It is wild.
It's very picturesque. So, A bunch of buses arrive at summer camp, and the kids are just flying out of the bus, and they're ready to go to their cabins, they're ready to have fun. And this is your first shot of Ronnie and Mel being the owner, as we mentioned, and Ronnie being the head of the camp counselors, I think, is his position. Like a bronze Greek statue.
Yes.
Ushering all the kids in, kind of giving them announcements as they run to their cabins.
And there's already more kids in this scene than in the entire Madman movie.
That's a fact. And then you get a shot of the pedophile.
So Artie has a line that is probably one of the creepiest lines in any movie. And he's like, bunch of baldies running around.
It's back where I come from, we call them baldies.
I'm just like, oh. And then the other chef, Ben, he's like, they're too young to even know what you're talking about.
And then Artie's like, or maybe you're too old to know what I'm talking about. And Ben's like, and then I'm like, this dude is like clearly a pedophile. And everyone's okay with it.
Like that's a classic Artie.
They're younger, some of these girls. Yeah, it's the most blatant pedophile, like, in a summer camp that I've seen. Like, there's normal, like, subtle hints, but
He's
this
not
is
trying to hide it.
Exactly.
He's also like sucking on a twig. he's like sucking on a twig. It's like the creepiest thing. So then you see Ricky, and he meets up with his good friend Paul. Paul is the hot boy of this summer camp.
Yeah, no, he is. He definitely has an eye on a certain girl in this movie, though.
And so Ricky introduces Paulie to his cousin Angela, who literally does not say a word and will not for a very long time.
There's only one person to get a word out of her, and that's Hot Boy Paulie.
That's true, and Paulie walks away, and he loudly tells Rick, he's like, wait till you get a load of Judy. She's got some of these.
Referencing boobs.
Oh, yeah.
For everyone listening, it's a very weird movie to watch because these are all clearly kids, and there's a lot of sexuality reference towards them.
I'll be honest with you, it's very uncomfortable talking about it.
Yeah, it's weird because this isn't gonna stop. I said this before we started recording. Judy's the horniest character ever put in film.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's true.
And she's a 14, 15-year-old girl. It's
Yeah.
super weird.
Yeah.
Ricky fills in Angela that him and Judy used to be an item the previous summer. So Ricky's filling Angela in about the camp. He sees Judy surrounded by a bunch of guys, and he walks by Judy. He's like, how you doing, Judy? And she looks at him, and she's like, just trying to soak up all the attention and kind of make him jealous. Mm-hmm. She's playing him.
Yeah, she kind of just ignores him, really, there.
Yeah, she really looks at him, turns her face back to the guys. And then Ricky drops Angela off at the cabin. He approaches Judy, who's now by herself. He's like, aren't those boys a little too old for you, Judy? And she walks away. She's like, I don't have time for you right now. I gotta talk to these boys. And then you see Meg for the first time, who I would guess is one of the camp counselors, right?
Yes, she is. She, I think, even specifically mentioned she's the, like, complaint department in the scene.
She tells everybody that Susie's the complaint department.
Okay.
Susie's the other counselor there.
Yeah. Susie's the one that sticks up for Angela occasionally, right?
Yeah, so right away, something you should know. Meg's a bitch, and Meg is in tandem with Judy, pretty much.
Yeah, and this was the second problem I had with the movie. She goes, I'm Meg. That's M-E-G. She spells it out for these kids like there's some sort of silent Q or an L maybe in Meg that people might get confused with. I'm like, come on.
I guess they saw Angela and thought maybe she couldn't spell, because during this entire scene, Angela's just staring at them.
Yeah, she's like staring through Judy, who's like putting on her makeup.
And Angela has this, like, her eyes are so open in this entire movie.
Oh,
like,
she's terrifying.
She generally is, like, creepy. I could understand maybe why the kids make fun of her from time to time. They take it a little too far, but...
Yeah, and Meg right away just looks at Judy, the tandem, and they're like, oh, we got a real winner over here. They know they're going to have a difficult time with Angela. So then the scene shifts to like a noisy cafeteria. Mel, as you mentioned, the owner of the summer camp, and him and Ronnie are sitting at a table. And then the old man starts striking up a conversation with Meg. And this has got to be the hottest item in summer camp.
It's not a pedophile moment, but it could be close, because, like, Meg's a camp counselor, but her age isn't exactly established.
Her age is definitely in question. I don't know what her age is.
Because he's at least 40,
Mel?
50 years
Way
older.
older.
No, older than her. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would even say older, man. He looks like he's 70.
Yeah,
Am I overshooting that?
50 years
years
older than that girl.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, like, if he's, like, 60-something, she's, like, 18 maybe, hopefully.
And I'm pretty sure that this guy has a cigar strapped to his mouth 24/7.
Entire movie.
Mel tells Ronnie to go with Meg, and they walk away, and he slaps Meg on the ass as she leaves. So you know what you're getting.
That's when we cut to Angela's table where she's not eating anything. She's just kind of staring into the void again.
Kind of weird and creepy.
So then the guy with way too short of shorts comes over, Ronnie, and he's like, "Oh, you're not eating, Angela?" And he takes her back to the cook to find her some food that maybe she might want to eat.
I'll fix you up something to eat, Angela. Just come with me.
He's like, they're like, she hasn't eaten in 3 days, ever since she's been here. And he's like, let's go find something you like. Maybe some ice cream. Like, that's going to be like the most nutritional thing. That's the first thing this guy goes to.
He's just such a sweetheart. That's why. He's like, maybe a nice, cool treat. The problem is, he takes her to Artie.
Artie, who Shane would argue is the hottest guy at camp.
I would argue is the most pedophilic character I've seen in a film. This scene is actually wild, how it unfolds. Because Ronnie's like, this is Artie, the cook. He'll, help you find something. And he leaves. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what Artie's about. Because then Artie takes her to this back room. And without hesitation, he's like, I got a treat for you. And starts unbuttoning his pants.
And he's got this real interesting look. You know exactly what this guy's about. And he's not even ashamed.
Well, yeah, there's a cafeteria a door away with, 47 people in it. It blows my mind that, that is about to happen.
She starts walking backwards, very wide-eyed. If you didn't think they could get any bigger, they are. And he's like, I got something real good for you. And then the pantry door swings open, and Ricky rescues her.
Yeah. Not before Artie violently throws him into the cabinet and starts, shaking him into the cabinet.
Well, wouldn't you beat a young boy?
I mean, no. I don't think I would.
Because sometimes I question you.
Wow. I don't have a response.
So Ricky agrees that he'll never say what he saw, and Artie does let them go. And then Ricky kind of flies by Mel, and then he asks Artie, he's like, what's going on? And Artie's like, I guess I scared him. He's just a creepy guy. Not that I tried to rape a young girl or anything.
I mean, he could have said, I tried to rape this young child, and I don't think anyone would have cared.
Yeah, they would have been like, classic Artie.
Slasher movie alert, POV shot for the first time. Because someone is watching Artie. And what is Artie doing? Boiling something special. What is he boiling?
A little corn.
Didn't you wish there was goose in there?
I love me some boiled goose.
So he's boiling up some corn in the kitchen. He leaves. And then this person kind of sets up position under one of the tables. Mm-hmm. Comes back in. Artie starts to jump on top of a chair or a stool.
It's a chair.
Because it's like a cauldron almost. His boiling pot is huge. He needs a step ladder to get over it.
It's actually a pretty wild scene when you think about it, because it is like a 3-foot-high pot.
That is a 1,000-gallon pot.
And it's on top of an already high stove. Unless it's like the Great Khali, no one's looking at the top of that pot, just standing. Anyone would need a chair.
So this person, they slowly approach Artie, and then the POV shot is kind of trained on his butt.
Mm-hmm. The chair's kind of being ripped away from him, and he's holding onto a shelf to try to balance himself. That's what it is. My favorite part is says, "Oh, it's you." That is an ongoing theme. Anytime someone gets killed.
Oh, it's you!
They never say explicitly who. They always just say you.
The ultimate slasher mystery.
Yeah.
Sleepaway camp.
So yeah, the chair is getting pulled. Artie's like, stop. Just one yank. Artie rips down the boiling pot all over himself.
It's a shame because he probably would have made it better if he just took that leap fall, that fear fall.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if you think about it, if he just say he's putting his hands on the shelf to save himself, if he just kind of goes like that, he would probably just fall off.
Yeah.
Unscathed. But it's a movie.
It's a movie, so
it's a low budget horror. So.
He's got to grab the scathing hot
boiling
pot and just drag it so all the water just drenches on him as he falls to the ground.
Yeah, like Saul said, a quick turn to the left or right, and he's free. But no, he does the slasher movie thing, grabs the pot, and now you have your boiled goose.
Yeah, you actually do get shots of him, and he's kind of you just see his hands at first, and they're just destroyed, seared flesh ripping off of his hands, screaming, and then you get a shot of his face, and you want to talk boils? This guy he's
cooked.
Cooked, boiled goose.
Yes, he is. Now, Mel is not happy about this.
And why is he not happy about this?
Because it's going to ruin him.
Mel is all about the publicity. He's a businessman.
Yeah, he's about the bottom line of making money.
And he does it at a summer camp. A better way to make money.
A doctor comes in, during this scene and points out every obvious thing that had happened, where he's like, he's burned pretty bad.
Well, yeah, because the doctor gets there and Mel's like, "What's the prognosis, Doc?" I'm like, the guy's got burned by 1,000 gallons of boiling water. That's the prognosis.
He's like, he's in pain right now. I can promise you that. He's definitely suffering. He's like, not even any medicine I give him will really cure him. No sedative will help him here.
He's like, every nerve in his body must be burning right now. Poor guy. I'd hate to be him right now. Poor guy.
He's ushered out in a full body cast.
Mummied.
Yeah. And Mel, after hearing all this, he's like, well, just don't tell the kids. I don't want them to worry.
Yeah, no need to upset the campers. So Mel quickly jumps into action. Who did he jump action with? Some of the cooks there.
It's actually a genius play, because he just goes up to Ben and he's like, how's about a $15 raise and becoming the new head chef feel about keeping quiet about this? And then he gives a $15 raise to all the other...
Works out. They want to make some money.
Yeah.
He wants to keep the camp quiet. Doesn't want anybody to get nervous because he still wants that cash flow to come in.
And it makes me wonder, because he just raised everyone $15. Now, is this $15 an hour?
No, he actually says $15 a week.
A week,
Yeah.
okay. That makes a lot more sense then.
That's a low amount of hush money.
Yeah. Because at first I was like, wait, $15 an hour? I was like, how much do these cooks make originally? $1 an hour?
I have to ask, too, how is this guy profiting off the summer camp?
He's in the middle of trying to sell it, so any bad publicity is going to do.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it. You're right.
Yeah,
He's
the
trying to
force
sell
it,
the
yep.
camp. Okay, that makes sense.
He's also trying to bang Meg, so he doesn't want summer camp to end too early. So now...
Boys in the cabin.
Yes, which this is another weird scene to...
You never played Mind Over Matter, Shane?
I have not. And if the people listening don't know what Mind Over Matter is, it's very simply a game where a kid lays in a sit-up position while another kid holds a blindfold over their face. And the idea is they have to push up while the kid's holding the blindfold down. But the whole point is that the kid takes away the blindfold as soon as you say 3, and then the other kid jams his face into another boy's asshole.
And then right away, Mario Lopez walks right in. Yep. He's wearing a shirt up to his nipples. I definitely want to call that out. I love the 80s, where you can do literally anything you want and get away with it, apparently.
Dark time.
I said, don't tell me this guy fell for the old Mind Over Matter trick.
Shane was so good at that game. He loved getting his face in some butts.
Yeah, Shane's an ass sucker.
Wow, none of that is true. I feel like this is an ongoing thing where I have to
Suck ass.
refute it.
Damn right.
Hey! I get enough of this from Brian on the weekly podcast, and now I got Sauce coming at me,
Well,
too.
Brian sent me a text and he said, How about you roasting Shane for an hour? How does that sound? And then we'll publicly put it out on a podcast.
Exactly.
I said, sign me up.
Count me in.
I didn't know what I signed up for when I agreed to do this
Well,
with
did you sign up to play some baseball? Because that's what the kids are about to do right now. The boys are ready to play a little ball.
And this is the greatest game of baseball to ever be played.
You got Gino's crew versus Billy's crew.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Gotta go with Gino's
There's throwing
crew.
wagers on this.
Yeah.
$5.
That's a lot of money back
These are
then.
big stakes. Some guys are making $15 a week. $5 is a third of that pay.
And I love the age disparity between the two teams. Because one team looks like a bunch of kids that are like 14.
Billy's not a counselor. Those are kids.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They look like they're in their 20s, the other kids.
And Billy, I'll just throw it out now because you're going to hear his name a lot. He is the punk 80s kid of this movie. His crew is
He's a bully.
Bunch of punks, bunch of bullies.
There's also a scene where there's a kid on a calculator
Yeah, so
in the
he-
outfield.
Yeah, he's playing on his like I
It's
don't know.
like Punch Out.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
It's like one of those like Tiger Electronic
Electronic games.
machines.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like a ball's hit the outfield and he's like, oh shit. He just like throws it down, runs, somehow catches the
I'm
ball.
also pretty sure this is the kid that had the Mind Over Matter trick played on.
Yeah.
him.
Oh yeah.
He went from eating butts to making the game-saving catch.
It's true.
And they still don't appreciate him because they pull more pranks on him later on.
So after Ricky, Paulie's, and Gene's team wins the game, Billy's team is not happy. They're like, we're gonna get you guys back for this. Don't you forget it.
Yeah, very very 80s.
That entire game, they're telling each other, like, go die, fuck you, you're shit, eat shit. All these insults are being tossed around, but the second Ricky's team is like, the girls will give us a better run. They're like, you're dead. We're coming for you.
Yeah, that's one thing. The kid Ricky, and it is a thing they mentioned throughout the film, quite the potty mouth.
Oh, yeah.
He needs soap in his mouth.
He's just like,
for sure.
fuck you fucking cocksuckers.
Very vulgar.
I'll fucking kill you! I'll fucking kill you! I swear to fucking God, I'll kill you!
I'm pretty sure they filmed that scene once and they replayed it 5 times.
The same yelling and cursing.
It's so funny how accurate that was, how Ricky actually sounds.
So then we go to the gym, and there's a few girls and a bunch of dudes, and Billy's hanging out. And they look over at Angela, and they're like, "Hey boys, let's go get Angela skinny dipping tonight." And I say this in this accent because I'm not exaggerating. This is how they talk.
But they also trash talk Angela with it. She's a nutcase.
She ain't playing with a full deck of cards.
And there's other things they say I can't remember. It's a very quotable movie.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of weird 80s one-liners.
So 2 boys go up to Angela. Are these 2 guys named? I don't remember.
They are. I know one's Kenny. And I do
Mike.
Kenny and Mike.
That's it. Because Kenny and Mike are always together. So they go up to Angela and they ask her, "Hey, you want to come to the lake?" I think the one guy asked once. She doesn't. She stares with her giant wide eyes. I think it's Mike who's like, "Let the professional do this."
Yeah. Meanwhile, she's sucking on a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Them no mind.
He's like, "Hey, you want to come to the lake?" And then that's when they start verbally abusing her, talking bad about her. Like she's not sitting there staring at them. It's very strange again.
Yeah, you can tell this girl's got some. She's got some issues she's dealing with.
She's been through it.
Well, which makes sense considering her dad and brother were murdered at the beginning of the movie in front of her.
That's true.
And Ricky busts into the gym. I'm fucking wearing a cowboy hat. I don't know where this came from. And Mel walks in and he's smiling. And guess who he's approaching? Meg, who just loves to see him because for some reason you think this is just the old guy preying on the young girl, but she is into it.
Yeah, oh no, yeah, she completely wants to get with Mel. There's it's still weird because the age gap, but yeah, she's into it.
So Ricky walks right over to the guys picking on Angela, and he already starts a fight with them.
Oh, 10 kids scuffle breaks out.
And is it you say 10 kids, is it Ricky versus the other 9 boys? Because that's what I feel like it is.
Basically, yeah.
Well, no, I think Paul jumps in with
Paul
Ricky.
Jumps in.
2v8, and then Gene kind of pulls him out.
Well, because you gotta listen to Gene. He's also another nice guy in the film.
I mean, you don't like Saved by the Bell?
It's AC Slater.
It's not actually, but...
Was this filmed before Saved by the Bell?
Yeah,
definitely.
So they robbed.
That's true. Saved by the Bell robbed Sleepaway Camp.
So after the fight, Paulie starts eyeing up Angela and goes to sit next to her. He starts talking to her. He's trying to build some rapport, apologizes what happened to her family. This is the first insight we know that we get the whole picture here.
Paul's the first person who's generally just nice to her because even though she doesn't answer him yet, he's just talking like she is answering him.
I love the line because Paul's like, me and your cousin, Ricky, we go way back. We've been best friends for 3 years. Waiting till childhood, 2 years. He's like, we've known each other for 3 summers now.
Is this where he goes through all the stories about him and Ricky stealing the girl's panties and hanging up on the flagpole?
Yeah.
And she smirks.
She does smirk at
She thinks
that.
it's funny, yeah. And she definitely does seem to be enjoying his company. Of course, Judy is watching her at this point, and she hates Angela.
She hates anyone that talks to a boy. If she's not talking to the boy, she's upset.
She is the horniest character in any movie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So Gene comes back and is like, boys, back to the cabins. Now, Paulie leaves, and then he wishes her goodnight, and she repeats the gesture.
Yeah, she says goodnight the first time Angela speaks in the film.
And you would think this kid just had sex because he's like, good night!
He's really pumped.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone so pumped for a good night before.
He has every right to be. I mean, everyone knows she doesn't speak, and her speaking...
He's the conqueror.
Yeah, he's done it. Sure. He feels like that's his in now.
Yep, and it might just be. But Billy and the crew now are down by the docks, by the beach area, and they want to do some skinny dipping. That's what summer camp without taking your clothes off.
With the girls.
With the girls. But the girls ain't into it.
No. And what I love about this scene, the guys are still into it.
Yeah.
Because they all get naked.
The girls are like, we're not doing it. And then the logical thing was, okay, let's keep our clothes on, just the guys, and jump in the lake and go swimming.
Right.
They all get naked together.
And jump in the lake together. And you see all their asses.
A lot of kid ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of kid ass.
It's so true. Meanwhile, Kenny and Mike are getting a little stoned right now.
Yeah.
Most exaggerated high people in movie history.
Well, yeah, because when Mikey comes up and starts talking to people, he can't stop laughing. Yeah. He's like,
he's like, who's coming with me on a midnight canoe ride?
I think the girls volunteer Leslie to do
Yeah,
it.
she's not even there. They're like, take Leslie. And then Leslie goes. You just see Leslie in the canoe ride with Kenny, both of them in the middle of the water.
And then Kenny's like, I never have any bad intentions. You can trust me.
Totally. Mind you, this place is crawling with water snakes, snapping turtles, and then he starts rocking the canoe.
Was his whole goal just to take a girl here to knock her into the lake?
Yes.
I think so. Guy's just a dick. He eventually tips the boat over.
Yeah, and she falls in, she gets upset, leaves.
He literally just swims back to the docks, like what he thinks is going to happen.
I get he accomplished his goal of knocking a girl into the lake, but what was the point, really?
And he sees her swim away and then goes under the canoe and starts calling for her like she's under there.
And this is a segment I want to actually introduce to Two Guys One Necronomicon. Please explain to me segment.
Please explain to me
Why he goes under there and starts singing under the canoe.
Yep.
I don't know. You obviously know Leslie is now on shore, and another figure comes up under the canoe with Kenny. And this is where I brought up where characters don't say who, they just go, you? Or what does he say exactly?
He's like, I bet the rest of the boys will be interested in seeing you.
But why?
They say it in the most nefarious, way.
The character who appears has to be one of the strongest people alive, dunks his head with one hand and drowns him.
We're talking about an absolute freak beast.
Because I'm pretty sure most people can swim back up from one hand from a child pushing them underwater.
So then the scene kind of transitions to the very next morning where Kennedy's body is discovered. And it's discovered by what I would guess is either a lifeguard or a camp counselor.
Yeah, I would just
who
assume
seems
camp
very
counselor.
pissed off at Mel for letting him get all this grunt work, cleaning shit up.
He's on canoe duty.
Well, yeah, okay. Also, one thing. The night before, you see the boys throw all the chairs into the lake. And when he goes in, he's taking the chairs out of the lake.
And he discovers Kenny with a snake coming out of his mouth.
Pond snake!
The water snake.
Okay. But yeah, I guess it's karma?
It is. A little irony.
In reality, this is where the movie ends. Because this is where the police shut down the camp.
Exactly.
And everyone goes home.
No, see, you would think that. But Mel, he's a wordsmith here. He tells the cop, it's an accident, kids drown all the time.
And he's like, I don't know, there were no bruises on Kenny when I looked him over. And meanwhile, Mel is sucking down another Cuban.
And this is where I'm going to point something out for later. The cop has a mustache in this scene. We're going to see his mustache later on.
I know where you're going with this.
And it is wild.
Yeah.
So I just want to leave that there for now.
Cop, mustache,
Yeah. But anyway, so Mel does a great job. Because the cop's like, all right, fine, we'll wait to see what the autopsy says. Otherwise, the camp can remain open. Like Saw said, regardless, that's not happening.
Yeah.
All the kids are going home.
Yeah, I know. And then Ronnie busts in, he's like, I don't know, Mel. And Mel's like, it was an accident. He shuts that thought off right away. He's like, it's an accident. He does not want this getting out. Because now the whole camp knows someone's died on property. Because all the kids are out and they're seeing this whole thing unfold. So Mel leaves and Ronnie has a little one-on-one with the cop. And he's like, it's weird. I remember this kid being a good swimmer.
The cop's like, well, an accident's an accident. Camp's on!
And then right from that, we go to the volleyball scene.
Apparently, it's bad to want to play volleyball. I mean, what world do we live in where someone does not want to play volleyball?
Like, if I was at a summer camp, volleyball would be the one thing I can't wait to do.
Everybody's playing volleyball begrudgingly besides Angela, who's sitting on the bleachers. Paulie sits next to her. And he asks her on a little date.
And she agrees to it. He asked her to go to the social.
No, it's actually a movie at the rec hall.
Oh, movie at the rec hall. Yeah, social comes later. And she's like, don't we have to go to that anyway? He's like, yeah, but you want to come with me? And she says, yes. And this is where Judy's horniness becomes even more apparent because she's like, why does Angela get to sit over there and talk to the boys while we got to play volleyball?
Meg also kind of chimes in. She's like, you're not going to play? You can't talk to the boys. And then Susie kind of comes, and she's the
nice one.
The counsel, the nice counselor for the girls. And she's like, Meg, listen, she's just talking to a boy. It's not a big deal. But Meg is just not having it. We then shift after the movie night, and you see Paulie offering to walk Angela back to her cabin. Judy continues to stare at them as they're now holding hands. And then Ricky sees Judy, and he's like, stop being such a stuck-up bitch. I love the interactions between these characters.
Yeah, he got shut down at the beginning of the movie. The nice guy act wasn't working, so now he's gonna be Ricky the stud.
Ricky the stud, who's just
Start
very
calling
insulting.
girls bitches.
It's like, yo, bitch! Polly pulls Angela close to him and sneaks a quick kiss, which really throws off her rhythm.
Oh, she was not happy about that at all.
She looks very, very confused. He's like, you mind if I give you just a little bit more of a snack? She's like, and he does. He goes in for one more snack. You know what I'm saying?
Can we legally call this a passion bump?
Please to God, no.
Yeah, but Angela doesn't run off. She just goes into her bunk. Obviously not happy with the situation.
So then Judy approaches Paulie, who's by himself at this point, and starts flirting with him. And Paulie's like, I have to leave, and he just blows her off. Then it shifts to the kids playing another prank on Mozart, who they've been playing pranks on the entire movie. And this leads him to pull out a knife.
They put shaving cream in his hand, tickle his nose, the classic slap yourself in the face with shaving cream. Like you said, he pulls out a knife. And
He's like, let me get my fucking knife!
Gino walks in. He's like, are you kidding me?
He's like, dude, are you serious? He immediately pulls and stashes the knife.
He's like, you're lucky if you get this back at the end of the summer.
And then all the kids, they actually defend Mozart. They're like, oh, come on. It's just a joke. It's a knife. Like, they're cool with it.
Just a blade.
Just a blade.
Well, it was the 80s. Like, you could just threaten each other with knives as a joke.
He's like, all right, everybody go to sleep. And that includes you, lover boy. And they point over, and everyone starts jumping on Paulie.
Yeah,
jumping on his bed. And I love because Gene just hops on him at the end. Little pile up.
You know what I do like? Besides Meg, the counselors, for the most part, seem like generally, like,
They're
fun,
cool.
like...
Greatest people on earth, completely unrealistic.
That's true.
Camp counselors are exactly how Meg are. They hate the kids. They try to kill them. Trust me, I've seen it with my own eyes. It's a bloodbath.
Well, that's good to know. I'm glad I never went to summer camp.
Camp. Bloodbath.
So then after this, we pan to Angela sitting on a bench by herself at the lake. Paul covers her eyes, and he's like, guess who? And her first guess is Ricky. And I love her second guess, which is Burt Reynolds.
I actually thought it was Burt Reynolds. I was wrong.
It should have been a twist. That it was just Burt Reynolds the entire time.
But it's Paulie.
This is when I realized Judy is always there, because she's once again angrily watching the two of them talk.
Well, it's like Judy, and Meg in tandem.
Yeah.
And they're starting to berate her for not going in the water. Because apparently you gotta swim. You're forced to swim at the summer camp.
Yeah, so Angela pulls an Angela, and she just stares into the void while they berate her.
And I think Ronnie's restraining Meg. He's like, relax, she's not gonna go in the water.
Meg loses her mind.
Well, yeah, because Meg starts violently shaking.
She goes out of control.
And that's when Ronnie does intervene. After that, Judy starts saying something to Angela, right? Because they're back at the camp?
Back at the cabin, she does. And she literally just throws a pillow at her. She just snatches it out of the air.
And Judy's like, hey, Angela, why don't you shower with the rest of us, huh?
What are you, queer or something?
She also says something, I bet you haven't even hit puberty yet.
You're a real carpenter's dream, flat as a board and in need of a screw.
These are kids.
And that's what I'm saying. It's so weird saying these lines when it is just it's kids.
I gotta be honest with you. Whoever wrote this script is a damn legend.
Probably Artie.
And Susie, kind of Angela's defense the whole movie, literally slaps Judy across the face.
Slaps the taste out of her mouth.
And it's about time someone did that.
So the scene's gonna shift now, and Billy and the boys are having a water balloon fight.
On the roof.
These guys look like they're 20 years old, and they're playing water
Little
balloon.
roof fight.
There are some boys in Billy's crew that look a little younger, but for the most part, they're much older. Also, they've taken really well the death of their friend Kenny.
Strangely well.
But yeah, so they're throwing water balloons. Angela walks by, and they just pelt Angela with a
She
water.
gets pelted to the ground with a water balloon. Ricky sees this and just starts berating them from the ground.
You motherfucking fucking gay son of a fucking kid!
Oh my god, it's so on point. It's terrible. He just curses up a storm where Mel has to come in, and he's like, hey, you boys, get down from there. And he threatens them. He's like, I'll throw you out of this camp if you keep doing this. And he's like, hey, Ricky, watch your potty mouth.
He's like, I'm gonna throw you out too, and everybody, you're losing your canteen privileges.
Does that mean just drinking water?
You do something wrong, it's punishable by dehydration. That's how summer camp works. I'm telling you, it's all canon.
And my favorite relationship in this movie, even more than the Meg and Mel relationship, is Mel and Ricky. Because he just has it out for Ricky.
Oh, he definitely has it out for Ricky, especially later on in the movie. I think it's Billy. He's like, yo, guys, I'll catch up with you. I gotta take a wicked dump. And so he goes to take a dump, and someone puts, like, a broomstick through both stall doors.
It's like a very...
The thinnest broom ever produced.
So this scene is absolutely outrageous. Everything that's about to happen. He's dumping. Someone cuts a hole in, like, the back, like, wiring, I guess, of the outhouse.
Yeah, it's like a screen.
The screen. Yeah, it's like a screen door. And they dump a beehive.
This is directly above the stall where he's taking a dump.
Yeah.
A wicked dump.
Like Saw said, it's a thin broomstick. He should be able to just push and break it.
It's also a thin door, which is why I'm going to go on record saying that in this moment, Billy deserved to die. Because if you can't break down that door and break down that broom when your life's depending on it, you should die.
That's fair.
It is. And unless you're allergic to bees, would you die
You would, regardless of, like...
You would?
Allergy,
I think so. Yeah. There was no joke over 100 bees because...
Well, yeah, it's true, because they show his face, and it is just covered with bees.
He eventually breaks out of the stall, hits the ground, and dies, and you just see the bees that are on him.
It's pretty disgusting.
There's like 1 million bees on him.
It's a pretty disgusting scene, because you see all, like, there's almost like a bee coming out of one of the holes in his arm.
He's got warts all over his skin.
It's gross.
I've been stung by a lot of bees before, and they give me welts, but his didn't look like welts. They look like warts, pussing warts.
Yeah, they do. And this is great, because then we pan to Mel, and he's like, I'm finished.
I love it.
Like, he doesn't give a shit about any of the people who died. He's just worried about his publicity.
Like, I'll never financially recover from this. Mel is the Tiger King of summer camp children.
He's a real summer camp shark, and he's telling Ronnie, he's like, I am done. We might as well just pack up right now. And Ronnie, who's soft-spoken, he goes, why don't we just finish out the week? Give it a week. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, because I think they mentioned there's only like 25 kids left anyway or something like that.
I wonder how many kids died off screen.
I could imagine.
Yeah, because like the way he handles it, it's like kids die at the summer camp all the time.
400 get off the bus. 4 days in the summer camp. Most of them are dead.
I love this. Mel goes to the window. He just stares outside. He gets a real life moment. Like, it clicks to him. He goes, and he's like, Ronnie, I know who's doing this. I know it's a killer, and I'm gonna stop him. And then Ronnie's like, you're going crazy, Mel. And then Mel's like, yeah, I might be going crazy. Maybe I'm just imagining it. But you could tell he's coming to a conclusion. He's fixated on his mind. He's got his idea on somebody.
And we'll get to that soon. But first, Angela and Paul are just making out on the beach.
They are. You see the shy girl who didn't want to talk to anybody, and she's now hooking up with this young stud Paulie.
And that's when we start to really put together some things, because Paul starts to undress her, and then we go into this weird scene of 2 kids watching 2 guys make out on a bed.
Yeah, she's having like some kind of a weird flashback or something.
What I think, and I could be wrong, is she's seeing herself and her brother watching their father and the guy on the shore making out on a bed.
Are they really making out? I kind of just saw them like touching each other's arms.
They're not
making out, but like they're
that's the idea.
They're cuddling and doing a little
like in the 80s it might have been punishable by death to film 2 guys make out, but
gotcha.
No, yeah, that essentially it show. I guess her father was cheating on the mother with the guy on the beach. I'm assuming that's what
the kids thought it was funny because they were just
laughing.
They were laughing, yeah.
Scarily laughing.
And then you just see like both of them. Aren't they like on the bed together? And they're just like boys like pointing at her.
Yeah, so that's what it is. The boys pointing at the girl, and the bed's like spinning. And then we go back to the beach.
Paulie and Angela were making out, and Angela gets spooked.
Spooked, exactly. I guess all this ran through her head while he was about to unbutton her shirt, and then she just freaks out. Which, granted, if that's what was going through my head as well, I'd probably freak out too.
So you know what it's time for now? It's time for a harmless game of Capture the Flag.
I actually put down this is the worst game of Capture the Flag ever played. I mean, I've never gone to a summer camp, so maybe you could say how they go, but it's just a group of kids in a circle running around.
Here's how it goes in reality. Since I am the summer camp aficionado here on the podcast right this second.
True.
You play Capture the Flag. They played it right. Blue versus white. Thing is, loser dies. You gotta keep it canon. You lose half of the camp in a game Capture the Flag.
That's probably how this is going to end up, too, because most of these kids won't see the end of the summer.
Yep, so Paula goes to talk over to Angela about the previous night. She kind of apologizes, and she blows him off. She's like, I gotta go. And Judy kind of sneaks by, because like you said, Judy is everywhere. And she goes over to Paulie, and she just keeps hitting on him, flirting with him. She's like, oh, I know a lot of things, Paulie. Then Ricky catches up with Angela, and he's like, Angela, he really needs her to play capture the flag.
Yeah, because Ricky's got this stellar idea of how they can win this game.
He's got a plan. He's got the strats and the tactics to win the game. He's going to send Angela on a wild goose chase. While the guys are hunting her down, he's going to come from around and snag the flag from the boys.
Yeah, it's a great plan. Too bad none of it matters, because Ricky instantly runs into Judy and Paul kissing.
And Angela from the other side sees them kissing as well. And Judy gets what she wants.
Yeah, which is to make Angela feel bad by making out with Paul. And Ricky is the first person to just be like, Judy, you're a scumbag. Which is accurate.
You're just jealous.
Which is also probably the nicest insult Ricky had all movie.
Probably. So then, again, another scene of them, the kids swimming. Paulie sits down to Angela to apologize. Immediately, once again, gets interrupted by Judy. Rinse and repeat. Angela, I heard that Paulie called you a prude. And Paulie's like, I'm done. I can't win. He's just like, I'm tired of it. And he walks away.
Yeah, Judy's just the worst. Like, I don't know how anyone would want to be friends with her at the summer camp.
Yeah, so then Angela keeps giving her, like, this death stare because Judy's like, we need to go for a swim. And then Ricky on the beach is shown running right into Mel. Mel's like, hey, Ricky, we haven't had a chance to talk. And then Ricky's like, Mel, I wish there was more guys around the camp to play some baseball.
Yeah.
You just can't get a good game of baseball anymore.
Well, that's because, as Salsa said, half the camp is dead already.
Yeah, they're dead.
Mel's like, it's just a shame they all had to leave. And then this is the scene kind of flashes back and forth from this conversation to the Meg, Angela, and Judy conversation. Because Meg has this idea to pick up Angela and drag her by the water.
Yeah, and just, like, dump her in. Now, Ricky sees this about to happen, so Ricky's about to, like, go save her. But Mel grabs him, and he's like, that's what you do, huh? You always gotta go save her. Wait, is that how you save her? You kill those kids? Huh?
So right now, he thinks that Ricky's the guy that's going around slashing up all the kids. Why? I have no idea how he came to this conclusion.
No. It makes absolutely no sense why he would ever suspect Ricky. Is it because he cursed?
It may be, because he's yelling at Ricky, and he's like, with all the bad publicity, he doesn't know how he can hold on to the camp. And he's like really just like coming into crisis mode at this point. He's like, how are you going to do it this time? Another drowning or something worse? And as Meg brings Angela closer to the water, Mel is holding Ricky's arm, he's yelling at him, and then Ronnie comes, pulls Mel off of Ricky to restrain him because he's literally going out of his mind right now, and then Meg just throws Angela in the water.
And now, I gotta direct the question at you, Sauce. Is there this level of bullying in a summer camp?
They don't do it justice. There's massive amounts of bullying in summer camp, and this barely scrapes the tip.
Gotcha.
This is nothing. You think this is bad?
You've seen war.
Oh, I've seen some things.
So just murder and bullying. That's all summer camp is.
Yeah.
So then the lifeguard and Ricky are able to pull her out of the water. She's barely in there, to be honest with you. Angela walks away, and the counselor calls Meg a real peckerhead.
Great insult.
Instantly put it into my bag of insults.
It's a real stunner. Then Ricky sits down with Angela, and he promises her that they won't let them get away with this, because he's just sick and tired of getting bullied this summer. It's just not been his summer.
I think they do that because, like, as a viewer, you have to imagine that the killer is Angela, right? It's the only logical explanation, because they don't do a good job of making it seem like it could be anybody else. The kid with the knife, I guess you can kind of... Maybe him because he's carrying a knife on him.
Mozart, yeah.
And they have to make Ricky seem like he could potentially be a killer. But you know he's not.
They want you to think it's Ricky. You never do. Yeah. The only other person that ever popped into my head is like, that Anne at the beginning of the movie was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe she wanted to protect Ricky and Angela at summer camp by killing all the other kids. But yeah, otherwise, like you said, it's very clearly Angela.
So it's nighttime, and Ronnie rounds the troop of counselors, and he tells them, hey, listen, we're having a social in the rec hall tonight. You bring your kids around? Oh, except for you, Eddie, because you're on camping duty.
He's not happy.
Jerry, Meg, you get the night off.
And Meg is thrilled about this, because that means she can go ask Mel if he wants to have dinner tonight.
And she does. And I'm going to go here and say it now. I don't think you need sex for a passion bump. Because I think this conversation is where it happens.
You're saying the conversation between Mel and Meg is our passion bump.
I think it just might be.
I'm with it.
Well,
Passion bump! Passion bump! Passion bump! My G. 9:30 at Mel's place. And she's excited, but she just can't find a shower. She needs to shower, get ready for the big date.
before we do that, what would Mel's place consist of? Just another cabin?
I actually have no idea because you never really see where he lives. It'd probably be a cabin.
The owner would never be at a summer camp, so that is where this movie takes a little, it's false.
It's false. It got you.
Okay. But yeah, like you were saying, Meg goes to shower. There's like a line of 7 girls. She tells Judy she's going to go shower in the one next door.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like an outhouse or a next door shower, but no one's there, so she's showering alone.
It makes you wonder why none of the other girls went there.
Why wait in the long line when you could just shower in solitude?
Yeah, because she goes there and it looks like a decent shower, besides the knife that comes through the back of it.
Oh, you don't hate that when you're taking a shower and then the water just pulls through your face and you're cleaning, and then all of a sudden someone stabs you from behind the wall and rips out your spine.
Yeah.
I'm also an aficionado of getting backstabbed, especially with my good friends. Shane being one of them. Mm-hmm. It's a terrible thing.
It stings.
Yeah, no, it sounds awful.
The metaphor is probably worse than the actual physical.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather get actually stabbed in my spine than go through what I went through.
That's fair.
My best friends backstabbing me.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, me too. I sounds like an awful situation I know nothing about. So this shower scene kind of reminds me of Psycho in a way, right? Like, filmed just as well.
Oh, yeah.
The music cue. Mm-hmm. It's Hitchcockian, really.
Couldn't agree more. Very Hitchcockian film, Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
Also, the person that's stabbing her needs to be very strong to do what she's doing.
Yeah, because she's
just carving her like a turkey.
either that this wall is made of, I don't know, the worst stationery of all time, and you could just stab right through it like a piece of
I'm just talking
wet
about
paper.
getting the knife fully through the back and then slicing through her like butter from the neck to the butt. That requires some strength.
That's a good point. Unless because it's not like a scalpel, it's just like a hunting, like, and she's
it's like a
pulling
Bowie
it.
knife,
Yeah.
So whether you want to believe it or not, this killer has to be a very strong person.
You would have to imagine it is a 6'4", 280-pound male stabbing this girl in the back.
That's why it most likely is Ricky.
But the thing is, I think it's implied from the very beginning that it is a kid because Artie says so,
Yeah.
right? When the person's tugging at Artie in the beginning, I think he mentions it's a kid.
Which also would have to be a pretty strong person because they pull out a chair from under like a 250-pound fat man.
Fat man pedophile.
Yeah.
So then we pan to Eddie taking the kids out camping. One of the kids asks Eddie to go find firewood with him, and it seems like a great time they're about to have. And Eddie's holding a hatchet in this scene. That'll come back into play later.
Yes.
Then we pan, I believe, to Paul apologizing to Angela for what seems like the 14th time about something.
It kind of just keeps happening, and then Judy pushes right through them with another older guy. I think it's Mike. And
Yeah,
then
it is Mike.
Paul is like, "Oh man, I hate Judy. I hate her." And then Angela turns away from him, and he's like, "Why don't you meet me at the waterfront after the social?" And she just walks away.
And Paul's a little excited
Let's go be there.
because Paul thinks he's
He's about to get it in.
yeah, that's what he's thinking. Then we go back to Eddie. He's sleeping next to the kids at the campfire, and 2 of the kids are like, "I'm cold, Eddie. I'm cold. I'm cold." So he takes the 2 kids back, but leaves 4 kids alone in a forest. Which, is that a thing a counselor would do?
I don't think so. What do you think?
Canon. It's true.
There's the confirmation. Camp counselors could give 2 shits about their kids.
Then we go back to Mel. He's upset because Meg's late for the hot date. And I think that's when Judy mentions that she went to the shower a few hours ago.
Yeah.
Also, before Mel bursted in, Judy and Mike were making out on the bunk.
But Mike's a real wet kisser.
I forgot about that. What a line. But Mike hides under the bed right before Mel comes in. Then after that scene and Mel leaves, Mike's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go. I don't want to get caught."
Yeah, and she's not happy about that.
Because, like I said, she's the horniest character to ever be put on film.
She really voices her displeasure. And now Mel goes to where Meg was taking the shower. And then right when he's about to approach the shower, she falls with the curtain downward. And then you just see her back on the floor with a knife gash. It's like all the way, like Aunt mentioned, from the base of her neck down to her lower back. Like she was carved open.
Yeah, several questions. The main one being, why did she fall when he got there?
Yeah, the timing was
If she was just
insane.
Yeah, because like she was standing dead, and the second Mel walks in, she's like, "All right, time to fall. She would have fell a long time ago. She should have just found her on the floor. It would have made a lot more
And
sense.
what position could she have been in the shower to fall out like that? I have no
Considering she was facing the opposite way when she was getting stabbed. So she would have to have then turned around, laid the other way, and then the body finally went forward. Yeah, it's one of those things that just kind of doesn't make any sense.
And then Mel sees her dead body, and he's like, "Not you, Meg." And then he takes a deep look, and then he starts pointing at her dead body.
Yep.
Because he likes to
Wrong
point.
point.
He goes, "He did this to get back at me. He did this."
Yeah, so he's instantly thinking Ricky has now killed Meg because Mel accused Ricky of being the killer.
And he holds the point the whole time.
Yeah, he loved Meg.
So then we go back to Judy in her bunk, and a figure appears at the doorway.
Yeah, whistling figure.
But this is the first time they actually show the person standing in the doorway.
Yeah, a dark image of the killer.
They frame it so that you think it's Ricky in a wig.
Yeah.
I'm actually positive that Ricky actually was the one that was filmed for that scene.
I think so too.
Because it looks like him just in a wig, right? So they're intentionally leaving it ambiguous to, is it Ricky? Is it Angela?
And then once again, another person says, "Oh, it's you! What do you want?" And then the killer just punches her in the face.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
A strong punch.
Yeah. And then the killer grabs a curling iron and puts it in her hoo-ha.
Puts a pillow over her face to drown out those screams.
Yep.
So now Eddie walks back to the campsite, and he finds the kids that were remaining back at the site sleeping mutilated.
Yeah. So the killer went and took the hatchet that was there. Were any of these kids that were murdered any named characters, or were they part they were just kids, right?
Just kids.
So this is the first time some people are murdered where I kind of like, why were they killed?
It's also the first time where someone in this movie had a reaction that probably someone would actually have to see a bunch of dead bodies, or just anyone dead.
Yeah.
Like mutilated.
Like Eddie is freaking out.
He throws up.
Yep.
I mean, he did. Yeah, he was supposed to take care of these kids, and 4 of them have now been murdered on his watch. And like you said, yeah, he reacts like a person would, and not like Mel.
Back at the cabins, Ronnie's talking on a payphone about the 3 campers who were just killed. I think that Eddie was able to get in touch with him or notify somebody, and he was eventually notified.
He used the tree phone.
And all of a sudden, Ricky's running past him and is just grabbed by an outstretched arm because Mel is dragging him into the woods.
And Mel beats Ricky's face in.
He does. He gives him a lot of hands.
Yeah,
a lot of hand
couple
slaps.
slaps first. And then he clobbers him.
Yeah, because he like takes both his hands together in like a double fist and just pelts him in the face.
Yeah, and then he gets up, runs away after leaving Ricky either for dead or in a bloody mess. You can only assume he'd be close to dead at some point. He looks unconscious. Spots the killer holding a few arrows. He looks shocked and he's like, "It can't be you.
You!
It can't be." And then, sorry, Mel.
Arrow through the throat. So now you know the killer is definitely not Ricky.
Yes.
But now we get to the scene I wanted to talk about. Ronnie calls a police officer who arrives at the scene, and this cop has the fakest mustache.
Yep.
Like, because they zoom in on his face, and it is clearly, like, almost falling off.
It's like...
It reminds me of, like, when we used to film things as kids, and someone wore a mustache, and it was just dangling off.
Yeah, it's
that bad.
Yeah. So he basically tells the counselors they have to go back to their cabins, look after their kids, and stay there. But then Susie arrives, as well as Jean, and they both mention that Judy's missing, Ricky's missing, and Paulie's missing. So then the cop changes plans. He's like, "All right, break up into pairs. We need to find the missing kids."
We cut to Angela meeting Paul by the lake, and Angela tells Paul to take all of his clothes off.
She, like, turns around ominously. She's like, "Take off your clothes." And Paulie's like, "Really?" "Yeah!" And he takes off his clothes.
And then the cop finds Ricky, and we confirm that Ricky is still alive.
Yeah, he was just unconscious, but he comes to.
Then they find the body of Meg.
Yeah, and the cop comes back out, and he looks very disturbed.
And then, once again, they show the cop, and I think his mustache is falling off even more than in the previous scene. I just can't believe it. Like, why wouldn't they just be like, "Hold on, fix the mustache"?
They have to do it intentionally. It's gotta be. This movie's like a parody of a parody.
But is it supposed to even be a parody? That's why I question it. It's funny nonetheless. So then, they all find Angela holding Paul.
Yeah, it's Ronnie and Susie. You kind of hear like a humming and a singing in the forest. And Angela's kind of just holding Paul. And they're calling out to Angela. They're like, "Angela, Angela." And then you get another flashback. And it's a flashback of Ricky's creepy mother from the beginning of the movie. And she's like, I always wanted a little girl. But when my husband left, oh well, that's just water under the bridges, as they say.
And this is when you get the big reveal.
You just see her with another kid, and the kid's got bandages all over the head.
Yes. And that's when they kind of pan the camera, and you realize, because she even says it, Peter, you realize the dad and the daughter had died the entire time at the beginning, and the son is the one who had survived the boating accident. And this aunt is so crazy, turned Peter into Angela, because Angela, it sounds like angel.
I know you're gonna like that name, won't you, Peter? And the boy just, who's now a girl, just looks up and just like, wow, I feel so horrible for this kid. What a life. And the counselors see Paulie, who's being held, but it's just Paulie's head. His severed head.
This is it. This is the moment this movie has been building up to. The severed head falls. Angela stands up, turns around. And this scene, Sauce, you even said, is terrifying.
Her hair is just completely poofed out. She looks very freakish. She's standing, knife in hand, covered in blood.
Mouth so open.
Yeah.
That it almost looks fake. And her eyes, the biggest they've been. And then you just see a penis.
Yep. Her standing there, knife, open mouth, covered in blood, with a dick.
And Ronnie says, Angela's a boy!
Now, I just want to touch on something. I watched this movie with ads, and she gets up and she's like hissing almost. And I'm like, wow, what a Shyamalan twist. She's actually a male possum this entire time. Mine was blown. And she's hissing for a long time. And then one of the ads come in, and they're like, make sure you go to Outback and try the blue onion. I sit through 2 minutes of ads just to see if there's anything left of the movie. The ads end, and she's still hissing. And I have to tell you, the movie is not scary at all.
No.
But in that moment, I was like genuinely creeped out. I was the only person in my house. It gave me a very unnerving feeling. Like, they did a really good job.
They did. She holds this gaze for a long time, and she doesn't look like a girl. Mm-hmm. She doesn't look like a boy. She looks like a monster.
A monster possum.
Yes.
A monster rodent, yes.
Music is just blaring in the background.
Yeah, and like the screen starts turning like a green color as she's still holding this frightening gaze, and then the credits just roll.
With her gaze still on the camera.
Exactly.
It's actually really scary.
And the movie ends. And I gotta say, watching this, I expected a complete joke of a movie. It wasn't scary, which I expected, but I did not expect a terrifying scene like that to end the film. Like, I think that hit very, very different, and I did enjoy the lasting part of the movie.
Oh yeah, by far, this is a very enjoyable movie to watch. You said it's not scary at all, but it's funny. It's like, it's not boring. It's the perfect amount of time with like an hour and 24-minute runtime.
That's why I'm saying it's a parody of a parody. I feel like it's a parody of the 80s in the very early 80s.
That's why is it a parody? Because like, it's a 1983 release.
They really over-embellish a lot of things. I don't know. Maybe.
It could just come down to a bad director, bad acting.
True. I mean, this movie came out in 83. This is already after, like, some of the early horror films that came out. Like, everything came out, like, 1980 or 81. You're talking about, like, Evil Dead. You're talking about Friday the 13th or even Maniac, which we reviewed last week. A lot of these big slashers...
Madman, you mean? You said Maniac.
Oh, well, Maniac came out in 1980, but Madman. And also Halloween. Like, all these big slasher movies already came out. So, I don't know if this was, like, a parody of the 80s, a parody of slashers, a little bit of both. But it has a sick twist, which I couldn't see coming. We all have a good idea. Everyone seems to believe it's going to be Angela at the end of the movie.
Well, yeah, because the twist isn't that Angela's the killer.
Exactly, which is interesting.
That she's a boy possum.
They make it like it's impossible for anybody else to be the killer, which is cool because you get her as the killer, but it's just not her.
I didn't expect to see nudity like that at the end of this movie.
No, I'm happy they kept the nudity out of it until the very end, because there's, like I said, there's a bunch of kids, but...
Well, I mean, you got male butt nudity, but I just mean, like...
Those kids were definitely of age. Those were the older kids.
But, like, whoa. Obviously, it's all fake, but that part at the end...
Yeah, it's a haunting scene that would definitely stick with you. So, with all these things considered, the corny dialogue, the summer camp atmosphere, which I really do like, one of the most slashers that I look forward to reviewing because of how humorous it is. For the most part, kind of subtle. It has this general nice humorous flow, and then it just ends with this hard twist that just kind of comes out of nowhere. I really like the way the movie builds up to it. I give it a 7. I enjoyed it.
Interesting. I gave it a 6. Definitely better than Madman, without a doubt. It's not scary, but it's funny. Ricky cursing, which Sauce did great impressions about him throughout the whole thing, is very entertaining. The twist at the end is really good. It's an enjoyable movie, but it's nothing special, I feel like, to push it past a 6.
I actually have this movie higher rated than Friday the 13th.
Really?
Well, maybe not higher rated, but I actually like it more than Friday the 13th because I will explain. This is probably my favorite 80s slasher movie.
Okay, so this is where we're going to differ because I love Friday the 13th.
I do too. I'm a big fan of powerful moments in movies, and I think that last scene just cemented this movie as like something special.
I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I'm gonna give this movie a 5, which is extremely good on my scale.
This is true. You have
And the reason I
scale.
gave it a 5, which is high, I did not fall asleep. So it actually it kept my interest, which is very rare in a movie. I think watching movies with you guys, this is probably the 3rd in which I've stayed up for the whole thing. We're talking Bug, Sleepaway Camp, and Biker Boys. This is right under Biker Boys. Biker Boys is a 6.
That's fair.
This is a 5. If this movie has Wahlberg, Farrell, 9.
Wahlberg, Farrell as counselors.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Because I don't think you could really... you can't replace Mel and Ronnie. Like, they're
No,
perfect.
you don't...
Wahlberg could be Ronnie, though. Imagine Wahlberg as Ronnie in those short
Oh,
shorts.
yeah, at the time period, it would have been awesome. But yeah, it's right under Biker Boys. It's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen with you guys.
If we're going to do a little recasting, Wahlberg as Ronnie, Will Ferrell as Judy.
Oh yeah, no,
Will Ferrell is
as a horny 13-year-old girl.
Okay.
Because you think about it, Angela was a 13-year-old raccoon boy. Why can't Ferrell be a 13-year-old girl?
See, I'm glad you're seeing what I was going with here.
Fair enough. So this movie differs because it's not your prototypical slasher menace monster type legend like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. It's a kid, but it's a kid that's been severely traumatized.
Yeah. That is one thing I also really do like about this film, is that it does focus on the kids, which is not something summer camp movies ever focus on. Normally the focus is the counselors, like we said earlier. The counselors there before the kids get there, or the counselors like after the kids leave. This is like actually kids, like what a summer camp really is like.
She has to have magical powers though.
I think so. She's probably a mystic.
Because no, like think about it, like she's underwater for God knows how long when they go for that canoe ride. Because when he goes underneath the canoe, she just pops up.
That's
You're
true.
telling me no one saw the little raccoon boy run into the water and then just swim? No, she was down there for hours waiting with her raccoon and possum gills. She was waiting for that moment.
Also,
She's got powers.
like you said, the knife coming down.
Her body actually changes at the end.
It does. She's,
Yeah.
like she looks freakishly like larger.
Yeah, like
Well, obviously the whole body's Photoshop. Angela didn't actually have like a penis.
It looks real though. Like
Well,
they
yeah,
did a really good
but
job with it.
the person who played Angela obviously was a girl though, so
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the way the body looked at
Yeah.
the end, like looked legit, like a person. Like it didn't look like they were.
oh yeah. Well, like we said, it's the only creepy scene of the whole movie,
very creepy.
Yeah.
especially when an Outback commercial plays right before
Yeah.
it.
That definitely lightened the mood and made me feel safe for a second. But then when it just ends and you got that hiss, I was like, this, I don't feel good. I took a walk out. I kid you not, like, I turned off my TV, sat up without blinking, like, walked out and went on a walk, and I could not get that out of my mind. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it really, like, it impacted me for that
Yeah,
day.
yeah, no, I agree. I think it is one of the scariest moments. I'm not even kidding. In film history, I'm not exaggerating. It's haunting.
I wasn't expecting it, because I was lulled into a false sense of security for an hour and 43 minutes, and the last minute they spring that on you, I was shocked. Like,
Yeah.
it really caught me off guard.
I'm trying to think of like some recent movies where I've seen some really scary things, and I've seen so much already.
Desensitized.
I'm so desensitized.
And a lot
to
of it's like
horror
like jump scares too. Like this was not a jump scare. Like this was like genuinely done well.
It's the jump scares they're not really scary because it's just
they,
a loud.
they,
It's a
they
loud
play
noise.
on music and just something popping.
Yeah, this just plays on the image of her and the noise surrounding her. Like, yeah, that part is very well done. There's no debating that.
So who would like this movie? Even if you don't think it's a good movie, you're gonna have some kind of fun watching it. If you don't like, a lot of people like kind of don't like watching like older movies. But I'll be honest with you, this is just fun to watch.
Well, yeah, no, I gave it a 6. It's a good movie. Like 6 is a good movie on a scale of 1 to 10.
Like, I'm not a fan of the slasher genre at all, I'll be very honest with you. I'm just not.
See, I love slashers. Bad, good slashers.
Do you?
Yeah, they're enjoyable to watch.
You know what it is? I think they're so repetitive, and this one was not, and that's why I liked it so much. It's just so different from a slasher. It's not a very gory movie. It's not violent. It's kind of lighthearted, but it's got the really serious moment at the end, which is kind of sick.
And one thing it does do well is the people who do get killed, the bodies are graphic for the most part. The boiled
Bodies
goose,
are graphic.
bee stings, like...
It's not a gory movie, but the kills are done right.
Even the Kenny, when the pond snake's coming out of his mouth and he's all, like, deformed and wet.
Yeah, because he was under the water the entire night. So he's waterlogged.
All those things were very well done.
So with that being said, we have officially finished 2 weeks of our summer camp series. And I'm calling it the Summer Bash Bash. I don't know if you like that name, but I'm calling it that.
You know what? At this point, let's go for it. Summer Bash Bash.
SBB.
The SBB, the Summer Bash Bash. So I want to thank Sauce for coming on today and joining us on Two Guys, One Necronomicon.
It truly was a pleasure. It was awesome to do this with you guys. Remember, if you're here from my channel stopping by, once again, thank you so much for the support of me and my 2 friends here. Make sure to hit me up on Instagram for the next step for those code cards. Throwing that in there for my people.
Awesome.
By today.
Thanks again.
And make sure to follow us on Facebook. We're Two Guys, One Necronomicon. You can follow us on Twitter at Two Guys, One Necro. We're throwing up updates of what we're going to be doing, giving some hints at what our next movie is going to be, because we're not revealing what the next review will be.
That's correct. We have 3 more weeks of summer campy retro fun, and I promise you next week is going to be a banger as well.
So we are Two Guys, One Necronomicon signing off, and we will see you next week at another campfire.
This is it for Two Guys, One Necronomicon. Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to visit our Twitter page, our Facebook page. Follow us, give us a like. We'd love to hear from you and talk horror movies.